Hello, this is the Roundtable. We offer in-depth analysis of the hottest topics of the week and help you understand their significance. We are joined by Professor Choi Hyun-jin. Welcome to the Roundtable, Professor Choi.
Thank you for having me.
We are also joined by Professor Lee Kyung-suk. Welcome to the Roundtable.
It's my pleasure to be here.
President Yoon Suk Yeol is now on a 6-day tour of Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. He embarked on a trip on Monday. South Korea has maintained friendly relations with these three Central Asian countries since they established diplomatic ties in 1992. Today, we are going to go over why it is important to consolidate cooperation with them. Let's start with Turkmenistan. Personally, for our viewers, could you explain this country more in detail, Turkmenistan?
So Turkmenistan is a Central Asian country bordered by Uzbekistan to the northeast, Afghanistan to the southeast, and Iran to the south, and the Caspian Sea to the west. So Turkmenistan was a really crucial part, playing a really important role to make an intersection between the Eastern continent and the European continent to harmonize the both continent civilizations. And right now, the whole population is 6.5 million people right now. So compared to the geographical size, they're a relatively small number of whole populations, but they are really young and they have really a high birth rate. And especially Turkmenistan really has a first largest reserve of natural gas and also have a big reserve of oil. So natural gas and oil are really important factors to boost up the economy. It's a really important sectors.
Professor Che, based upon what Professor Lee Kyung-suk explained, then it is natural focus of cooperation between these two countries, that economic cooperation, right? Tapping on the Turkmenistan's a very rich reserve of natural gas and oil. Are South Korean corporation having any strong footholds there? And what are the sectors of possible cooperations are there?
Yes, as Professor Lee just mentioned, Turkmenistan has a very significant economic role. So that's why Korean companies are actively involved in several important projects in Turkmenistan, especially in areas of infrastructure and energy. So for example, the major companies like Daewoo and the Hyundai Engineering are making plans for gas processing and also chemical production. And also, including Turkmenistan, these Central Asian countries are important part of our diplomatic vision, that is the global pivotal state.
Right.
And in addition, there are also collaboration in shipbuilding, including projects such as vessel design and construction. And there are also room for expanding this cooperation based on advanced technology. For example, there is an ongoing large-scale urban development project in Turkmenistan, and this is called Arkadak Smart City Project. And this is a project for creating a new city that is technologically advanced and also environmentally friendly. So this kind of mega project are attracting further Korean investment and participation, showing a mutual interest in deepening these business relationships.
That's very impressive. This is far more than just natural gas and oil.
Right, of course.
Professor Lee, the second leg of Professor Yoon's trip is Kazakhstan. Could you tell us about the country and its relations with South Korea?
Okay, let's move on to the second country, Kazakhstan. Okay, so as I mentioned, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, they're the neighboring countries. So we opened a diplomatic relations in 1992 with Kazakhstan, and we had a strategic partnership with Kazakhstan in 2009 to boost the cooperation with Kazakhstan and various social and economic factors. And also Kazakhstan, it's really a familiar country because they are a Korean Kazakhstan, the so-called Goryeo-era, one of the largest ethnic groups in Kazakhstan. So when we look at the history, in the late 19th centuries and early 20th centuries, there was a huge populations who lived in the Russian Far East to escape from the Japanese imperialist oppressions. But there was a pretty large population in these Far East region. But in 1937, Stalin conducted the ethnic cleansing project. and they forcibly deported the South Korean population to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So because of the external shock, they settled down in Kazakhstan. So there's a generation by generation who has the Korean heritage. And so we are calling this once again, the Koryo-saram. So because of the cultural similarity and sharing the same history, like we have a cultural closeness with the Kazakhstan peoples. And this is one of the reason why Kazakhstan and Korea has pretty much a close relationship.
Right. The government of Kazakhstan makes heavy investment in future-oriented high-tech industries like AI and information technology. So, Professor, it's a natural area of cooperation between Kazakhstan and South Korea, considering that the Kazakhstan government has made such a huge investment in IT industry and AI technology.
Yes, it is true. So both countries, Korea and Kazakhstan, are becoming effective partners in high technology sectors, as you mentioned, AI and IT. And therefore, they are dedicated to strengthening the strategic partnership in diverse areas such as digital technology, healthcare, energy, and also environmental protection. So for this region, many South Korean companies have made substantial investment in Kazakhstan, leading to its economic development and also the initiation of major projects. But moreover, which is more important for this partnership is each country brings unique strengths to their partnership. So for example, the Kazakhstan has abundant natural resources. It has the world's largest chrome deposit and also significant uranium reserves. On the other hand, South Korea can provide advanced technology and also skilled manpower to use these resources more effectively. So I think this kind of synergy between these two countries can boost further innovation and development and make us a very strong partner in the global market.
I see. I mean, you highlighted the key word, the synergy effect between the two countries. Absolutely. Last but not the least, the third leg of Professor Yoon's trip, Uzbekistan.
Yes, among the three other Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan has the largest populations. So it's around 35 million people. So Kazakhstan has around 20 million people, and Turkmenistan has 6.5 million people. So it's a really abundant, has a really sufficient natural resources, not only natural gas or oil, but also tungsten, coal, copper, zinc, and lead. And it's a strength for Uzbekistan's economy. Then we have to focus why President Yoon went to Uzbekistan and other Central Asian countries. It's because of to make secure about the mineral resources.
I see. Professor, but this cooperation between South Korea and these three Central Asian countries, especially Uzbekistan, should not be just ended as a short-term development. It should be made in a long-term and sustainable manner. Right? What should be done to make this a good start between South Korea and these countries?
Yes, you're right. So it is also important to make this cooperation sustainable. To build this kind of relationship, Uzbekistan and South Korea are deepening their cooperation in several strategic areas. One of them is the education. They can enhance their partnership in higher education sector by promoting joint research opportunity and also student exchange programs. This not only matches Uzbekistan's goal of adopting the South Korean education model, but also drive innovation and development, which are vital for both countries. And the second area is technology and innovation. So Uzbekistan can greatly benefit from South Korea's skills in cutting-edge technology areas, such as IT, robotics, and also digital services. And additionally, we can work together on green technology projects as well, such as setting up renewable energy system in Uzbekistan. I believe that this kind of initiative can make a solid foundation for sustainable cooperation between these countries, well beyond the short-term and traditional areas such as energy and resources.
I can see two of you representing your university will be extremely busy after this program ends to lead a group of students to these countries, right? For many exchange programs.
Yes, it's true.
And inviting students from these countries too. 3 country visit by Professor Yoon Suk Yeol is very eye-opening to me because for the first 2 years of his tenure as a president, the global pivotal power diplomacy was somewhat confined to the traditional areas of cooperation, like security and economics, and the trilateral security cooperation among South Korea, Japan, and the United States, and NATO diplomacy toward Europe. But now, the diplomatic horizon of the Yoon Suk Yeol government has been extended to cover Africa. Last week, we have a Korea-Africa summit meeting, and now Central Asia, right? This is very impressive extension of diplomacy.
Yes, it is true.
In the age of globalization, physical distance between countries is no longer a main hurdle for their cooperation and friendship. Now more than ever, the countries in the Central Asia come close to South Korea and vice versa. Recently, a rare historical treasure of Korea returned home after it was illegally taken out of the nation a century ago during the Japanese colonial era. We will continue our discussion after we watch a video clip. Please take a look.
Waving both hands to an EDM song. A Buddhist monk dancing to the sound of a Buddhist wooden bell? In the Koryoin Buddhist circle, Nugent, a DJ dressing like a monk for his performances, is as popular as a K-pop idol. With his alter ego Nugent, he incorporates Buddhist elements into his EDM performances and is hugely popular. He recently attracted public attention by attending a special event. It was to celebrate the return of Sarira, which was taken out of the country during the Japanese colonial period and remained overseas for a century. Sarira is bead-shaped bodily relics, which are found among the cremated ashes of deceased Buddhist spiritual masters. The returned Sarira is the remains of the Buddha himself, alongside those of 2 revered Koryoin monks, Jigung and Naung. It had been originally stored in the Sarira pagoda for Venerable Jigung at home temple. But the collection of Sarira, contained in a silver-gilt lamaced pagoda-shaped reliquary from the Goryeo dynasty era, is presumed to have been taken out to Japan. Afterwards, the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, purchased it from a dealer in 1939. In 2004, it was found that the Sarira was kept in the Boston Museum. Korea and the US soon launched discussions on its return, but the negotiations were suspended in 2013. On the occasion of President Yoon's state visit to the US last year, the 2 countries reached an agreement on the permanent return of the Sarira to Korea. The Korea Heritage Service resumed the discussions with the US after a 10-year hiatus. The Boston Museum agreed to return the Sarira reliquary on a loan basis while donating the Sarira to the Jogyu Order, the largest sect of Koryoin Buddhism.
해암사에 지공선사와 나홍선사가 주지를 하시면서 한국 불교계를 이끌었다라고 할 정도로 해암사가 매우 번창을 했습니다. 그 기록에 있는 선사님들이 이곳에 들어왔다는 것 자체가 매우 역사적으로, 유물적으로 큰 의미가 있을 것으로 생각됩니다. 사리가 이번에 들어온 게 또 처음이고 이 전시를 통해서 많은 분들이 한지 본처 문화재 제자리 찾기 운동에도 같이 동참을 해주셨으면 좋겠다라는 생각입니다.
The Sarira and its reliquary hold great religious significance, demonstrating the 1500-year history of the nation's Buddhism. Hopefully, the return of the Sarira will rekindle public support for bringing back the nation's long-lost cultural relics from abroad.
It's such a great, very welcome news. The return of Sarira is meaningful in the context of religion for Korean Buddhism as a precious treasure coming back. Personally, what did you think?
So I would like to approach this issue not from a religious perspective, but from the national pride perspective. To think about how the country is powerful, it could be about hard power, but also it could be about soft power. And soft power, ground roots, it's the cultural heritage. It's about the culture.
It is estimated that there are approximately 240,000 Korean cultural treasures located overseas. When we look into this issue by country, Japan is the country that has the largest number of Korean cultural and historical treasures, followed by the United States, Germany, China, the UK, and France. Professor Che, it is a known secret that these treasures have been taken in the difficult periods when a country is mired with war, right? So most of them must have been taken not legally, right, through illegal ways. So would it be easy for a country like South Korea to claim these national property to be returned?
It is true that
It's not that easy?
many of the cultural treasures were stolen or looted during
Right.
a war or colonial period. So many people, including me, think that we must bring them home right now,
Right.
So I think this kind of argument is totally understandable and also commonsensical, right? But in fact, in reality, the bringing cultural relics from other countries is not easy for several reasons. The first reason is many items were originally taken under some laws, which were considered legal at the time by colonial or occupying countries a long time ago. So because of this history, bringing them back today is not easy, as modern international law requires specific agreements between countries to manage this return. And the second issue is how to determine the original ownership of these artifacts. This is also challenging as well. So especially when there are no complete historical records. So many museums and collectors need solid evidence where this item originally came from to determine its legality. However, artifacts were taken a long time ago when there was no digital database or recording system. This is also a challenging part. And finally, getting these artifacts back from other countries require careful negotiation between governments. As the willingness to return these artifacts depends on the current diplomatic relationship with the country asking for the return. If we have a very good relationship with other countries, it can make it easier to discuss and possibly return the artifacts.
Professor Lee, Professor Che is one of the many voices in South Korean population strongly demand the retrieval of national properties rightly belong to South Korea as soon as possible. What are the international regulations or stipulations and system that are applicable to these issues?
I would like to introduce three different types of international legal systems that we can refer to. First of all, the 1945 Hague Convention was the first and the most comprehensive multilateral treaty dedicated exclusively to the protections of cultural heritage during the peacetime and wartime. So this is really provided the legal foundations that the international community want to protect the country's cultural heritage. And another one is the 1970 UNESCO Conventions. And there are different types of obligations, but one of the obligations we have to focus on is the return and reinstitution. I would like to introduce this. So it is quote unquote, state parties are obliged to assist in the return of stolen cultural property to the rightful owner or country of origin. So this is one of the obligation that the 1970 UNESCO Conventions stipulates. And the last one is the 1995 UNIDROIT Conventions. This is also a really significant international treaty aiming at to prevent any illegal export and import from the other countries to protect the cultural heritage and properties.
I see. Mandatory and legally binding rules are lacking, which hampers Korea's attempts to retrieve its national heritages taken by foreign powers in the past. But Professor Lee, there must be some good example in which South Korea's efforts bore fruits, right? What's the track record of South Korea try to bring back the national properties home?
So I would like to introduce the Uigwe in
Uigwe,
Korean.
right.
In English, it's the record of the state rights of the Joseon dynasty. Late 19th century, the French army invaded Joseon dynasty.
Right.
So when the French army left Korea, left the Joseon dynasty, they took the Uigwe back to their home countries. So in 2011, South Korea returned the Uigwe from France. This is actually a notable example that the South Korean government returned the really important South Korean cultural properties back to Korea. This is a collection of the record that illustrates the Joseon dynasty's entire procedures of the state rituals. And it really belongs to South Korea, but the legal ownership right now still belongs to France.
Oh. But the Uigwe has been returned to Korea, right?
Yes, but only physically.
Oh,
so
okay.
the ownership, the legal ownership, it's still it's belonged to France. And it's a sad story, but anyhow, still one of the really important the cultural heritage, the properties came back to Korea in
see.
2011.
Very impressive.
Yes.
Despite numerous difficulties, many countries, including South Korea, have made consistent effort in retrieving the cultural and historical treasures illegals taken out of the countries in the past. There are a few signs that these efforts are gradually bearing fruit. Professor Che, what are some successful examples for these countries retrieve their national properties? And what is the main driver behind these successes?
Yes, Professor Lee just mentioned some international convention. But it is good to see that there is also a worldwide consensus on returning this historical artifact to their original home. The more international laws and agreements are being established to send cultural artifacts back to their original countries. Now, for example, in 2021, the UN General Assembly unanimously passed a resolution that stresses the importance of returning cultural properties to their original countries. So this resolution highlights worldwide awareness of the problem of illegally obtained cultural items and also supports efforts to send this item back to their legal owners. And along with these global efforts, the major institutions like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in the New York City are making a commitment to return illegally obtained items to their original home. For example, last April, the director of this museum said that they are actively working to return items with questionable origins to their original home. And similarly, France, Germany, and the UK recently returned several looted items to Nigeria.
Well, that's very impressive. So international consensus is set and the actions have been increasingly taken.
Yes.
Okay, then what about South Korea? Has South Korea been riding on this international trend to retrieve the national properties?
Right now, there are around 240,000 cultural properties are still abroad. So, but the Korean government really has struggled to bring them back to Korea. And I really want to give a big applause to the Korean government efforts. And so in 2022, around 107 cultural properties came back to Korea. And there's a 10 times increase in 2023. So around 1,600 Korean cultural artifacts came back to Korea. And still, I think the trend will increase in the future.
National heritage symbolizes a nation's identity and pride. There is a legitimate reason for a country to seek to bring it back home. This is all we have for today. We'll be back next week with new trending issues. Professors, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful experience and analysis with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching and see you next week.